Happy Cinco de Mayo, Trojan fans. USC got 4 commitments and then it added a cornerback transfer just to make it 5 commitments in 5 days in a row.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I am your host, Mark Holkin, and thanks for making Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you are watching this show on YouTube, you know you can pick a platform, you can download this podcast. It's always going to be free. And I always want to remind everybody how much I appreciate their support. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So 4 plus 1 equals 5. That's why we're celebrating the beginning of the week. It's Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, today, this episode. That's right. El Cinco de Drinko. Look, if you're an everydayer, you already know about wide receiver Roderick Tizeno, who committed to USC last Wednesday. And then offensive tackle Kenai Pepe last Thursday. But since our last episode of Locked on USC, which aired on Friday, which I brought you up to speed with those 2 additions, USC has added Albert Hill, the number 1 cornerback and number 1 player, overall prospect from the state of Ohio. He's joining Sean Alston, the best running back from the state of Ohio. 2 should-be Buckeye guys are now Trojans waiting to sign their paperwork guys. And then on Saturday, the name I told you to keep an eye on during Friday's episode, Luke Weaver, the wide receiver from Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame. Yep. He made his commitment to USC. That was on Saturday. So now we're, that was on, I'm trying to lose track. What day was that? That was this weekend. I think that was on Saturday. Pardon me. That was on Saturday. That's right. And then just in case you forgot your calculator, apparently I did. So that's 4 high school commitments in 4 days, right? It's a crazy number. Luke Weaver Saturday, Albert Hill on Friday, Kenai Pepe on Thursday, got to go backwards here, and Roderick Tizeno on Wednesday. There you go. 4 high school guys, 4 days in a row. And then on Sunday, just to top it off, kind of put a cherry on everything. Put a cherry on the Sunday. USC actually, I think they did this on purpose. So they waited for Oregon to get their bad news that Caden Dixon-Wyatt, the wide receiver from Mater Dei, preferred going to Ohio State. We USC fans, if you watch the show or if you hang out over there at wearesc.com, you kind of already knew that USC wasn't really in a good position for his commitment. For some reason, Oregon thought they were the place to be for him. It was always Ohio State. And so right after that happened, right after Caden Dixon-Wyatt made his announcement public on Sunday, as it was scheduled for May 4th, USC let everyone know that someone else wants to be a Trojan. His name's Chasen Johnson. He was the one-time USC Trojan commit, decommit, Southern Methodist University commit, decommit, and then ended up signing with University of Central Florida. Well, he is once again a USC Trojan commit, a transfer portal commit. I want to talk more about Chasen in a minute in the next segment. But yeah, 5 new additions to the roster. Well, eventually to the roster in 5 days. 4 high school recruits for the 2026 recruiting cycle. 1 transfer coming in for the 2025 season. So yeah, I think this is probably a good time for all of us to, kind of raise our glasses, toast the USC Trojans coaching staff and Chad Bowden, general manager. I mean, the job they've done so far this offseason, recruiting for the future. Yep, this is what we're going to do right now. Take a gulp. And then say, fight on. There you go. My Cinco de Drinko, water. This is the kind of, look, this recruiting that's going, the way USC is going about it right now, it's kind of unprecedented. When you think about it, 4 commitments in a 4-day period. The transfer portal stuff is it's relatively new. So, but yeah, 5 guys in 5 days. Let's start with the cornerback from Ohio, Albert Hill. Again, the nation's number 4 overall cornerback and the number 1 overall prospect from the state of Ohio. He chose USC over Oregon, Alabama, and Ohio State. Yeah. It's a pretty elite group when it comes to recruiting. So him picking USC, are you kidding me? That's not supposed to happen ever. Taking the state of Ohio's number 1 overall prospect? Really? Look, sneaking in during the middle of the night and yanking Fred Davis away while everyone is sleeping, that's one thing. And keep in mind, when they went and got Fred Davis, USC's Mackey Award winner, best tight end in the country, USC was coming off a national championship. They beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl. That was back in 2003. But when you're taking the Bucknut State's best running back, that's a whole nother thing. And then you go back and you take the state's best overall player at a position that Ohio State develops incredibly well. They are kind of known as DBU. They put cornerbacks and safeties into the NFL on an annual basis. No one really does it better. I mean, what's next? Going in, USC is going to go back to Ohio and start taking over the Glenville program? If you know, you know. Glenville is literally like the Long Beach Poly of Ohio. Remember, USC already has commitments from the country's number 1 overall cornerback from the state of California, R.J. Sermons. They also have the number 8 overall cornerback in the country from the state of California, Brandon Lockhart. And Madden Reardon, too. He's way underrated, already committed from the state of California. The fact that USC was able to go cherry pick Albert Hill, you know who gets a lot of credit for that? Throw some flowers to Director of Recruiting, Western Zernical. He's a big reason why he chose USC. A little background on Weston. He joined USC staff when Lincoln Riley came aboard back in 2022. Before he joined USC staff, guess where he was working? Yep. He spent the 5 previous years working at Ohio State. And he was doing that in a similar capacity. So, yeah, USC's strategy seems to be working out pretty well. The reason why Hill chose USC, he said, viewing practice was electric, and it highlighted what else stood out about the program. He said the direction of the program, the pieces they're putting around it, this program will be great in the next few years. End quote. So you got Weston Zernical maintaining, developing that relationship, coaching staff closing the deal. And then all of a sudden, you've got the best guy from the state of Ohio at a position that Ohio State recruits really, really well. Like I said, USC got 4 recruits in 4 days. So Albert Hill made 3. On Saturday, Luke Weaver, the 6'2", 200-pound wide receiver from Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame, well, he took his spot in USC's number 1 ranked recruiting class. Not number 1 in the big conference, number 1 in the entire country. This is why no one was around USC, or the fan base in particular, was too concerned or upset that KDW, Dixon Wyatt, was choosing Ohio State. USC's never going to hurt for wide receivers. And, you know, look, Caden Dixon Wyatt, he's from the state of California, but he's from Northern California. I don't know how much of that played a role in his decision, but he was down at Mater Dei, and he's going to play with his teammate, Chris Henry, who was also going to Ohio State, who was at Mater Dei. That's a nice 1-2 punch for the Buckeyes. But again, on Saturday, Luke Weaver, he announced his commitment to USC. 2 weeks ago, he was on USC's campus. He left with an offer. He didn't wait long to cash that check. Okay. When I say cash that check, I'm talking about that golden ticket to USC's recruiting class right now. That's 26 guys, and they're shooting for 35. Yeah, like I said, don't wait around. This is what Luke Weaver had to say. The USC offer means a lot, especially since I'm a hometown kid. USC is in the process of building something special, and I like that. You can feel it as soon as you get on campus. Now, I think the timetable for Luke originally was in July, was when he was looking to commit. But as I mentioned, Chad Bowden, USC's recruiting class, the strategy they're taking, he didn't really want to sit around and wait, because that spot might not have been around if he waited another week or 2 weeks. USC might take one more wide receiver in this class. Might, if the right one comes along. But again, make no mistake about it. The way USC is recruiting right now is a reason to celebrate. It's Cinco de Mayo. It's Cinco de Trojan Day. And look, for all of you wet blankets out there who feel the need to say, well, let's see what the team does on the field before we get too excited about all this. They still have to sign their name on the dotted line. They still have to show up in December and February. Yeah, no duh. We don't need to be told the obvious. But you know what? Take a day off from being that wet blanket. Pour yourself a drink. Enjoy the vibe that's going on right now. Look, there aren't any signs that this thing's slowing down, okay? We're going into the summer, so why not enjoy the good times? Head into the summer. Feel good about the program's direction. What have you got to lose? All right. Let's talk about USC and the transfer portal. Let's do that in the next segment. Like I said, USC got 5 guys in 5 days. The 5th one was a transfer. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, SupplyHouse is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 plus top brands, yeah, you're going to find exactly what you need, and they're going to have it delivered fast to your front door, coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, not a problem. SupplyHouse offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, yeah, the free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Masters program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, if you use promo code SH5, you're going to get 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right. So what does Chasen Johnson, the transfer cornerback from University of Central Florida, what does he bring? What does he bring to the USC's cornerback room that's been missing? He brings the exact same thing that DJ Harvey brought when he arrived in time for spring camp. Experience. So DJ Harvey showed up. He has over 4 years of playing time between his 2 stops at Virginia Tech and San Jose State. Chasen Johnson, who left Central Florida to come be coached up by Trojan Reed again, has 450 snaps under his belt, and he did that as a true freshman. If there's one thing the cornerback room lacked at USC, it was on the field experience. It's not a lack of talent. There's plenty of talent in that room. For instance, you have redshirt freshman Marcellus Williams, right? He was ready to be part of last year's rotation. Then an injury happened. You have Braylon Conley, who's a guy who literally looks like he's ready to contribute, especially based on the spring camp reports that I've been talking about on this show. Braylon's name came up often, frequently after each spring practice. And then you have the veterans that were returning like DeCarlos Nicholson, Prophet Brown. And you also have the younger guys that you brought in. You have guys like Isaiah Rubin, you have Tristan Castro, James Johnson, Alex Graham. And then you also have a young transfer that you brought in from Texas A&M, Kevin Longstreet. So you had a nice mix, but you just didn't have a lot of playing experience once you got past Nicholson and Prophet Brown. So let me repeat again. Chasen Johnson, he played 452 snaps as a true freshman for University of Central Florida. He started 4 of the final 5 games, and he finished the season with 18 tackles and 2 pass deflections. He still has 3 more years of eligibility left. If you're looking at his measurables, 6'1", 180 pounds. So good size, right? He's got that prototypical size you want at cornerback. Make no mistake about it. This is a Trojan Reed signing. This is USC's new cornerbacks coach. He spent last season doing the same thing at Central Florida. So obviously that connection between those two, really strong, right? Reed obviously saw enough last year that, said, you know what, come on over to USC. I think you can help the room right away, immediately. Here's my concern. My concern, if you will, right? Let me just play devil's advocate. How does this affect USC's locker room? Again, he wasn't around for spring camp. Trojan Reed, the new cornerbacks coach, trying to get familiar with all those guys who he's kind of adopted. I'm not questioning Chasen's character. I'm not questioning Coach Reed's character. But the whole commit, decommit thing, as far as Chasen is concerned, remember, USC, SMU, UCI. That was a little strange. You know how I feel about the whole transfer portal thing as it is, as a general rule. I think it's bad for football. So I'm wondering, again, just playing devil's advocate, how does the rest of the guys in the cornerback room, how do they feel after busting their butts all spring, trying to make an impression on their new position coach? They're working only to have, Trojan come on in, bring someone he's more readily familiar with. And again, let's not forget that flip-flopping. What kind of message does that send? How do you communicate why we're bringing him in? Coach Reed coached him last year and obviously knows him really well. That's worth something. For me, again, this comes down to how will this affect the USC players? What happens if Chasen shows up and automatically just jumps to the front of the line? Takes a week, 2 weeks, and all of a sudden he finds himself higher up on that depth chart. I think what happens, you're going to have some questions about whether he actually earned it or he didn't. It's just Coach Reed and his trust factor. This is not me playing conspiracy theory. That's me just keeping it real as a former high school basketball coach and over-the-hill athlete myself who understands how the locker room dynamic works. Look, this is just part of the game as well. And it's why the transfer portal is always going to be an issue. Last week at the assistant coaches brunch with the media, Coach Antonlynn said this. Look, he was talking about the cornerbacks specifically. He said, there's no clear starters. Quote, I feel like the group has itself gotten better, but I don't think anyone has really separated themselves in that group yet. It's still completely open. So if that's the last thing the cornerback room hears, okay. I'm sure that's the case, but this one has an odd feel to it. Again, I just got to see how it plays out. Right. So far in the spring transfer window, USC has brought in Kennedy Urlacher. He's at safety. You've got Tamir Robinson at linebacker and Chasen Johnson at cornerback. The best thing about this, each one of them have at least 3 more years of eligibility left. So at least from that perspective, none of them are 1-year mercenaries, and they're not. Maybe that's going to be that's going to balance the scales as far as the players in that room thinking, you know what, all right, he's got to come in, he's got to compete. He's not just going to be handed the job. Because everybody else in that room, save for DeCarlos Nicholson and DJ Harvey, and Prophet Brown to a lesser extent, they're all fighting for a spot. So we'll see how this plays out. Not trying to drag it down, but again, I tend to be more of a skeptic the older I get. So I just want to see how this plays out. And as you've noticed, I was the same way with when USC is like, hey, we got to go get Chad Bowden. We got to get a general manager. We got to let him, fix USC's program. Well, I'm softening up to that. I'm starting to see some results. So for me, it's not about the talk. It's all about the walk. Just show it to me, and I'll be good. Now I have to wait and see how things play out during the player run practices of the summer, and then obviously fall camp. We're not that far away. All right, we got one more segment to go. Yeah, it's that time where you're looking around, you're looking for money. Sometimes you have enough, sometimes you don't. You wonder, where did it all go? Well, we live in an expensive world. So that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's like having your own personal chief financial officer that's going to give you full visibility and total control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, all of your investments, and all of your spending, and you can do it all in one place. So you stop managing you stop managing your money, and you start building your wealth. And I'll start talking like an adult. You're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, start planning those long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. My apologies to Monarch Money. Man, that was a Monarch Money. Spit it out. Monarch Money. Anyways, speaking of money, in God we trust. It's on the back of a dollar bill. Back of all of your money. You know what? They say faith can move mountains, right? Should we use that same faith when it comes to USC's coaching staff? I mean, obviously, if someone has a track record of excellence, guys like Pete Carroll, Nick Saban at Alabama, you're going to feel pretty good living with their daily decisions, right? When it comes to making their teams better, you're going to say, I trust Pete. I trust Nick. Whatever they want to do, I'm all on board. They say do it, I'll do it. But at the same time, you know what? Let's not act like they're perfect and they can walk on water. Let me give you a couple examples. Excuse me. Before Nick Saban took over at Alabama, he actually said this at one time. USC, hey, would you like to come coach at USC? He didn't think it was a great job. In fact, he thought it was a terrible job. Then Pete arrived. Yeah, that one didn't age well. There was also a time when Pete, when he was USC's head coach, he could do whatever he wanted. Look, when you win 34 games in a row, a few national championships, a few Heismans, while you're watching your roster get drafted year after year, you're going to get some latitude. You're going to have some psycho fans that will do whatever you say. I was one of those guys. But let's not forget, Pete made some mistakes too. And he started making them well before he left for Seattle. He started to get a little lazy with his coaching hires. Those player evaluations, he was relying on his kid, Brennan Carroll, to scour the recruiting five-star sheet. As long as they had a 5-star, go get them. Well, sometimes that doesn't work out. As far as coaches, remember the name David Watson? That one comes to mind. So yeah, all I'm saying is this. Look, I'm not a fan of the, you can fill in the name, fill in the blank, we trust mantra anymore. Fans like to do that. When I was younger and I was watching Pete, resurrect USC from the ashes like a phoenix, I was willing to follow along. I was willing to say, yeah, in Pete we trust. Whatever he says, that's fine. He's done more right than wrong. And I did the same thing when Lane Kiffin took over, when Steve Sarkisian took over, and then Helton won the conference and the Rose Bowl. And then we all know how the rest of that turned out. So as I got older and I got less biased, I stopped being the yes man for USC. As I said in the previous segment, I live in a world now of show me, don't tell me. Yeah, I want to hear your plans, but I got to see you back it up. When you start to follow along blindly, you start missing things, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got to find an excuse for why I wasn't thinking for myself and why I just went along with the crowd. Like, I get it. It's a job. It's a fan's job to support the team no matter what. But that gets you in trouble sometimes too. That leads to tribalism. So that's all I'm saying is, look, yeah, you want to have trust in the coaching staff. You want to have complete faith in the staff, whatever. I get that. But I don't think that should always be the fallback answer when the staff does something that, it might be a little, and I'm looking for the right word here, controversial. For instance, again, I'm not questioning Chasen Johnson's character, but I do question somebody who changes their mind every 10 minutes. I'm committed to USC. 12 hours later, I'm committed to SMU. Days after I'm committed to SMU, you know what? I want to go sign my papers with the University of Central Florida. Oh, my position coach isn't here anymore. Now I'll go follow him to USC. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Is it a red flag? A little one. Hopefully, he's treated just like everybody else. No favoritism. And I'm sure he will be. I don't think Trovan's going to, put a rotten apple into a room just because he wants his guy. All right. I don't want to make this a rant. That's not what this is about. All I'm saying is, look, putting 100% faith into the coaching staff, it's okay if you hold a few percentage points back, right? It's okay. It really is. I promise you. No one will get mad. That's what I do. I would say I'm 95.8% in with this coaching staff and everything they do. That other 3.2%, 4.2%, that's where I will always question things. If you have any questions, any comments, that's great. You know what? Leave them for me in the comment section on YouTube. Hit me up on my social media on X. I love to converse with you guys. I'll be back with another episode tomorrow. Okay, we might have another commitment. I don't know. The way things are going, you never know. But things are starting to pop around the camp circuit. You got the 5-on-5 stuff, 7-on-7 starting up. So there'll be plenty to talk about, as well any news and notes about the USC football program, basketball, whatever, baseball. They just took the series from the Bruins. UCLA sucks. You see that right behind me. And can you see that shirt? That's the OG Todd Marinovich giving the one finger salute. You'll remember, if you know the game, you know the game. Anyways, until that next episode of Locked On USC, everyone, you know what to do.